Question number 13. So question number 13 wants us to select the choice in each row that best describes the graphs of f of x and g of x. All right. So let's talk about f of x and g of x. I'm talking about f of x over here on the left side. So again, I'm going to talk about f of x right over here. Sorry about that. So talk about f of x right over here, and then g of x right over here. Okay. So let's talk about f of x, okay? So when looking at f of x, we need to first identify the domain. So this is f of x right over here, all right? So if we look at that graph and we're looking at the domain, you look from left to right, okay? So domain, you look from left to right, okay? So when I'm looking at this, guys, I see that it's extending further and further and further to the left. So the more and more you go to the left, on and on forever, you're starting and ending at negative infinity. So and ending at positive infinity. So again, for f of x, you're going from negative infinity, all right, to positive infinity. All right. What about g of x? Well, we see arrows. So if that arrow extends on and on forever, g of x is also going from negative infinity, all right, to positive infinity. Okay. And again, you remember domain talks about x. So again, guys, that would be the domain for f of x and g of x. All right. What about the range is y is greater than or equal to 1? So when I'm stating that y is greater than or equal to 1, that means that all the values of y is either equal to 1 or bigger than 1. So I'm saying that there's a line that's crossing right here, a solid line, all right, and it should not be below that. It needs to be above that, all right? So there should also be a solid line at 1 that this needs to be only above, all right? When I look at my graph, only f of x is above that line, all right? G of x has some points below that line, okay? So for f of x, the range is y is greater than or equal to 1. But for g of x, the range is actually negative infinity to positive infinity. And remember, range is your y values, all right? So again, range, you look from up to down, all right? So look from up to down, all right? And when we look from up to down for g of x, it went all the way up and it went all the way down. So it went from negative infinity to positive infinity. F of x did not go all the way down, all right? It only went to down here at 1 and turned back, all right? What about the y-intercept of the function? Well, the y-intercept for f of x is right here, all right, at 3. Okay, so that's the y-intercept for f of x. The y-intercept for g of x, we don't even know what it is, but I know that it's a positive number that's bigger than 3. All right, so it's a positive number. All right, so it's a positive number. All right, that's bigger than 3. All right, bigger than 3. All right. So that's what the y-intercept would be, okay? So it says the function has a negative x-intercept value, all right? Well, for f of x, we don't even see that x-intercept value because it does not touch the x-axis, all right? So for f of x, this would not be correct, all right? F of x actually has no x-intercepts, all right? So it has no x-intercepts or it's visual x-intercepts, all right? But g of x does. G of x has an x-intercept right here at 2. So the x-intercept for g of x is 2, okay? So the final thing, the function is decreasing between when x is negative 6 and negative 4. So when x is negative 6, that would be right here. When x is negative 4, that would be right here. All right. When I look at my line, I see that my line is going down. So yes, for f of x, it's decreasing. All right. When you look in between negative 6 and negative 4. So yes, decreasing. All right. So now let's look at g of x. Okay. From -6, which would be approximately here, to -4, I need to see what's happening. But I can't really see what would be happening. All right. So in this case, we could assume that it is going, it's decreasing, because if the graph extends on and on and on forever, we could assume that it's decreasing. All right. So we could say yes, but I actually would say no. But actually, you could say yes. All right. So, because again, if a graph extends on and on and on forever, at some point it's gonna get to between -6 and -4. All right. And if that graph goes on and on and on forever, and we look at it right here, and we follow that graph from left to right, it will be going down. Okay. So in this case, we could say yes, or we could say no. All right. But for this one, I'm actually gonna say yes. I'm not gonna say no. I'm gonna say yes. It's decreasing. All right. So when I'm selecting the answer, okay, so I'm gonna select the answer now. All right, when I select that answer for which one of these, okay, the domain is -50, -infinity to +infinity. Well, both of them that would work for. So this would be C. Okay. Then the next option, the range is y is greater than 1. Well, only f of x was greater than 1. So that's only A. All right. The y-intercept was 3. Well, the y-intercept was 3 for f of x, but for g of x, it was bigger than 3. So it was only for f of x. So only for A. All right. And then the next answer asks about which one would be the x value or negative x value. Well, f of x has no x-intercepts, and then g of x has a positive x-intercept. So it would be neither, all right? So for the next aspect, or for the next part, you would put D, all right? So for the next part, you would put D, okay? And then the final aspect going down, both of them were decreasing, all right? So you would write C for both, all right? So again, guys, just like that.